Hey, Graham, thanks for joining us on this episode of the Advisory Board podcast. And guys, I've got Graham Chapman with me now. Not only does he share the name of Monty Python's founder, Graham Chapman, I forgot to bring that up earlier, epic hero of mine, to be honest. I love his stuff. But he's also a previous college baseball player and happens to be a certified franchise executive and one of the guys to go to at 919 when you want some help with your marketing strategy and other things. Great marketing firm that specializes in franchising and also PR, a bunch of other things. So I'm just gonna slaughter what 919 does. I'd rather you do that, Graham. Tell us a bit more about yourself as we're getting started.
No problem, man. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. And thank you for the podcast you did with Erica recently. I think she did a great job as well. Mm-hmm. Most importantly, to start, I'm glad to know you're a Monty Python fan. Clearly, my parents had a sense of humor. My mom's British and my dad loves the movies. So there you go. Yeah. 'Tis only a flesh wound.
Yeah.
But so 919 Marketing is, in our opinion, the most strategic storytellers in franchising. We've been in franchising almost 15 years. And I think what makes us different, tied to that point, is whatever the mechanism is that you're trying to use to reach potential customers or franchise prospects, be it more traditional PR or advertising campaigns, or doing what you can to fully leverage the new world, the new online world that's out there, social media, digital marketing, et cetera. I think we have the storytellers in-house here that, really know how to uncover and share the right types of stories. I don't care what vehicle it is, video, email, blog posts, et cetera. It's only as good as its story, no matter how good the production is. And then on the backside, how are you making sure that content is as sticky as possible? Do you know what keywords you need to rank for to reach the right audience? Do you know the right platform to share those things, to reach those personas you targeted? Having that right sort of strategy in place, especially when it's backed up by what we have, 919 Insights, our data analytics program that helps you isolate those things. If you don't have real reasons for targeting a specific audience and having the right type of content to share with them on the right platform that's guided by that type of technology, you're just guessing. So I think when it comes down to it, look, there are a ton of great PR and marketing agencies in the franchising world, but if you want the most strategic storytellers, I think our clients would tell you to come to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. No, and I appreciate that. One of the reasons we have you here, and really the focus of the session today is about something you mentioned, which is the the analytics and the insights, and it's interesting to me because we work with a lot of different franchise systems and franchise brokerage groups, et cetera, and I've noticed that there's a pretty broad span between between the amount of information that people have to make their decisions, and which I think is critical now because everything's kind of changing and pivoting, and you've got to be ahead of the curve or you'll get left behind right now. So let's tell me a little bit about how did you get into franchising? Like what's your backstory? Everyone's got an origin story in franchising, I find.
So I feel this is the same for most people, that I ended up in franchising sort of by accident, especially 919 Marketing ended up in franchising by accident. So largely I am here and I owe most of my career and obviously a lot of my life to my dad. So 919 Marketing is my dad's agency, David Chapman. Mm-hmm. Started the company in 1996. 919 because we're in the Raleigh area down here, mm-hmm. and we had a desire to work with all these, growing technology IT companies in the Research Triangle Park. And then after that, once we specialized in something else, we were like, okay, there are still listings out there, even in the online world. Numbers come before letters. So 919 rocks. Let's keep it. Despite the fact that some people think we're 911 marketing. We can be your crisis PR firm, but I don't want it to be 911 marketing.
Yeah.
So, we started thinking about new strategies and new ways to, new niches to serve after the sort of dot-com bubble burst around the turn of the millennium, as we're heading into the, the crisis there in the, mid to late 2000s, the economic crisis there. We were fortunate. My brother, who's a lot younger than me, was playing on a youth baseball team. Speaking of baseball, coming back around, I know there's a lot, Dave, you and I can talk about on a separate podcast about the life lessons that baseball teaches you, because I can tell you I learned probably more on a baseball field about how to approach life than I did in any classroom. But that's another topic for another day.
Yeah, I totally agree, though. Totally agree.
Yeah. So my brother's this 12-year-old playing baseball one day. He happens to be playing with Doug Shadle's son. So Doug Shadle of Rhino 7 Franchise Development out here in North Carolina as well, approached my dad after the game because naturally, as Dave, you can understand coaching kids in baseball, if you're the coach of a 12-year-old rec ball team, there ain't no other company going to sponsor your team. So 919 Marketing was the sponsor of that baseball team. And after the game, Doug came up to my dad and said, look, have you ever sort of worked in the franchising space? No, but we'd be interested too. And, fortunately enough, we were able to work with senior helpers before they made their rise in the in-home care space, before senior care really took off. So gave us a great sort of story and nugget to share with the press about this new and exciting, burgeoning industry. And the same goes for Doctors Express, which is now American Family Care, which is our longest tenured client. We've been working with them for almost 15 years, which is pretty much unheard of, a marketing agency working with any company for that duration of time. So we, we're a little bit lucky, and honestly, thankfully, we're pretty good at what we were doing on the PR side, and still are pretty good at that side, and helped those brands generate a ton of press that gave them the brand awareness and recognition that they needed. Both of those companies sold, which gave us a good sort of launching pad to jump into the rest of franchising. Mm-hmm. And I had joined 919 Marketing. So as you mentioned, played college baseball at Davidson College, mm-hmm. the house that Stephen Curry built. And I left the college at that tough time of 08, 09 when, I'm calling all my contacts of the internships that I had, and all of them were saying to me, look, man, like, I'd love to help you out, but I might not have a job next week. So there are no jobs. My dad was nice enough to give me an opportunity to start at the ground level, at the very ground floor, working my way up here at 919 Marketing. And now 11 years later, I'm still here. So something's working okay.
Yeah, that's great. It's interesting that you bring up, I didn't realize American Family Care was one of your earliest clients. So you working with Kurt Hurley over there?
Yeah, so the whole franchise team there, we're working on both the consumer and the FranDev side, yeah.
That's great. So Kurt's a friend of mine and somebody who's going to be recording a podcast with us next week. So nice. You'll want to tune in. He's got some pretty cool content he's going to share. So that's cool. It's a small world in franchising, always is.
Of course.
That's great. Well, let's jump into the topic. There's a lot of good stuff we could share here. So I want to make sure we get to that. So tell me a little bit about, you and I are, the purpose of this podcast is to talk about data analytics and what are the trends that we're seeing now or that you're seeing that should be driving everybody's strategy. Key metrics people ought to be monitoring, things like that. So let's jump into that now. Tell me a little bit about, in terms of marketing, franchise marketing analytics, what are you seeing changing right now? Like what's becoming pretty dynamic?
So, and I think this is something that everyone's still looking for in some respects. So what I mean by that is there are all sorts of technology out there that help you diagnose problems where it's like, okay, we're going to run this software, you're going to subscribe to this platform, and it's going to identify a bunch of things for you that you should look at or you should consider improving, but it's not actually going to solve the problem. It's like a doctor who would diagnose you but not fix you, to sort of send you away and say, good luck. Thankfully, with tools like, and honestly, Dave, your platform with ClientTether is like this also, that you don't just isolate what an issue is, you actually provide a roadmap and a blueprint to say, look, like you guys have slow times in connecting with your customers or your franchise prospects. We're going to not just show you what the tools are to fix that, we're going to implement it and help you get that done. Mm-hmm. So what 919 Insights does, our data analytics program on our side, it's going to show you how your website now currently stacks up against your top 3 competitors, who's currently winning the organic search battle, isolating what these key topics are or key phrases are that your top prospects are putting into their search engines when they're searching for solutions that you offer, and then providing you with a blueprint and a roadmap and a game plan to help you start to exceed your top competitors on ranking higher than they do for those search terms, and helping guide and figure out what types of topics we need to start writing about to ensure that those people find the answers they're looking for when they land on your website. So, and anything that's out there right now, I guess that's speaking to a larger trend that I think technology has been around long enough that customers, whether they be B2B or B2C, are sort of sick and tired of having to pay for something that doesn't actually solve the problem. And I think thankfully with a CRM tool like what your company offers, and with something like 911 Insights on our side, we're sort of getting to that next level of technological platforms that don't just diagnose stuff, but fix it also.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. No, and thanks for the shout out for ClientTether. Obviously, we love the analytics side of things too. I mean, more from what happens post lead gen, right? That's really where I nerd out about that. I was going to build custom analytics in other CRMs that aren't as good for franchising or service businesses, like our friends at Salesforce or the other ones. I don't need to mention them. You guys know what I'm talking about, um, but because they don't have the analytics, they don't have the flat data architecture. They can't tell you, well, this lead went here and here and here, and he's in this part of your sales process, but you're losing 40% of your people at that stage. What do you do next? Nobody has that. So that's one of the things that I dig about it. But coming back to the marketing analytics, like give me some examples of, well, now that you've got these tool sets that can give you the analysis, the comparative analysis of top competitors, keyword indexing, things like that. As you start to look at normalized data like that, what are you seeing pop up, or where do people have holes in their strategy that your analysis will say right here, look at this hole, and how is that changing?
That's a great thing to bring up. So I'll give you a few examples up front that I think are sort of smoking gun examples. So first of all, we eat our own dog food at 919 Marketing. If you look up, franchise marketing agency, franchise PR agency, we have done the work to put us in the top 2 for organic search rankings for both of those topics. So that would be one example that, the things that we've noticed we need to rank highly for are those, and we've put in the time and effort to write the content required to earn those rankings. More than that, client side, franchisors. So if you look up burger franchise, Wayback Burgers, not just their homepage, but a specific blog post talking about what is required to own a burger franchise, costs included, challenges to overcome, etc., has the number one ranking position for organic search. If you look up burger franchise, it's not the homepage, but a specific blog piece that addresses what you need to know about owning a burger franchise that's on their website, not on Forbes or somewhere else. It's on Wayback's site. Another great example, and this is something to answer your question, something that you might miss, is that, when it comes to competing for, I guess, space or organic search potential online with your top competitors, people, and this is not a poor strategy, but I guess the traditional approach would be to, okay, if we're going to start a bidding war with our direct competitor, like if Wayback's going to go against Five Guys or someone else, that they need to pay to have those paid placements at the very top of Google search rankings for certain terms that are branded to Five Guys. So Five Guys franchise, something like that, to pay the money required to be in the advertisement section at the top. What's great about something that 919 Insights affords you is you can see, is there really potential to actually start ranking organically for branded key terms for that business? So a great example for that would be Scooter's Coffee. That's another franchise client of ours. We were able to find out through 919 Insights that the Starbucks franchise, so Starbucks franchise opportunity and coffee franchise opportunity. A lot of people mistakenly believe that Scooters offers franchises, which they don't. They offer licenses. So Starbucks isn't spending a lot of time trying to rank for Starbucks franchise. It's not something that's important to them because they're not trying to sell to the audience. But there's a captive audience out there who's searching for a high-end coffee franchise that sort of not finding what they need when they were searching for that term. Thankfully, we've been able to use that information we've gleaned to see that there's a high enough volume of traffic to warrant us spending time on that search term. And Starbucks, because it's not a priority for them, wasn't spending the time required to make sure those people were finding something valuable. And now Scooter's Coffee ranks number 1 if you search for Starbucks franchise opportunity. So those would be some examples of how you could really use that tool to your advantage.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it's valuable because I'm sure there are other tools people could use to try to assess the same stuff, but knowing I hadn't really thought about branded keyword searches, but how powerful that can be, because a lot of times there's the big name in the industry, and an emerging franchise brand needs to start to get some more momentum and some more exposure. and SEO is a nice long-term play there. And if you can do that right on the pigtails of them missing that valuable opportunity to rank in those keywords,
Yeah.
that can help you very quickly get a lot of the right attention.
It gets back to what you were talking about, and we'll get into more of this when you get to more questions. But lead nurturing is key. I mean, everyone focuses their attention on lead generation, and for good reason, because a lot of franchise development departments have specific numbers they have to hit. They're very numbers focused, sales oriented type folks naturally, and that's not a flawed approach. You do need to hit a certain threshold of quantity of leads to meet your goals, but just because they saw a Facebook ad, just because they saw a PR article, just because they saw you at a conference, et cetera, they're not going to buy for you right away. They typically need 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 touch points before they're willing to even contact someone directly. So really committing to that organic search game and really committing to content means that they're going to start seeing you more and more often for what they're doing, what your prospects are doing to conduct their due diligence on their terms. And if you start answering all these questions they're putting in to their search engine that they're really eager to find that information about, that's where you start winning big.
It's interesting you bring that up, because there's a nice dovetail on what Erica and I discussed last time, which was, well, the zero moment of truth, right? The process through which people are going to buy a franchise has shifted quite a bit. There's so much good content out there now that they're getting a lot better and deeper insights earlier in the sales process, their consideration process, than they used to. And so what is happening is the overall process is elongating a little bit, but the end of the process is much shorter now than it used to be. Now, sometimes we all know in the FranDev world, you might have a 6 to 8, 12-month sales cycle for maybe a multi-site deal or things like that, or somebody's got to finish it, an exit strategy to get the cash, whatever the case may be, right? But the reality is the decision-making process is now getting faster at the end. But if you don't have your content out in front of people while they're in the consideration mode before they've ever hit your lead form, then you're probably losing at that game of content development, and you're missing a lot of windows of opportunity for SEO organic driven lead gen.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and I would say, to add to that, your website is the most important thing you can have. I know everyone's talking about Google My Business. That's important too. Not slighting that. But when it comes to making the right impression on customers and prospects, if they get the wrong impression the first time they land on your website, or at any point when they land on your website, they're out. I mean, that is a billboard that you can control in a way that you've never been able to control anything. So if you're not using that as the mechanism to be your one-stop shop, your the big thing that solves any question a prospect may have about your business, the website's falling short.
Yeah, I agree with you. And how they get to the website is also just as important, and where they land. I mean, you've got the full spectrum strategy around the content that you create that drives them to the website, what site, what microsite or landing page you're putting them onto, and then what happens on that page, and what's the call to action to get them to convert to the next step. Because it's not about somebody landing on the website and them saying, all right, I'm ready to sign an FTD. That's not how it works. It's what's the next micro step that they can feel safe to proceed to. And that's what your call to action needs to be, so you can get micro conversions, because it's all a series of micro conversions. And a lot of people think in much broader terms, and so they miss I think a lot of opportunities to get people into a nurturing campaign, continue to feed them, so that as they're in that tail end of consideration, they're focusing in on you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I say, well, let's shift gears for a second and talk about FranDev, since that's kind of where we moved over into just now. Talk to me about some of the trends you're seeing, marketing trends in FranDev, because that's shifted a little bit from my perspective as well, and talking to brokers and other groups or internal groups trying to sell franchises.
It's a big time right now. For all the negative consequences of the coronavirus pandemic, there's a ton of opportunity out there, as so many different people have been displaced from their careers. They're considering something new. So, I mean, look, everyone's world has been turned upside down, by COVID-19. And look, a lot of people are out of work, have been downsized, their salaries have been cut, or they're seeing that there's sort of a writing on the wall in their industry that what was once safe and stable no longer is. So
Mm.
I'd say the number one thing that's changed in franchise development is everyone knows that Q3 and Q4 2020 is a time that they should push down the accelerator if they have, the bandwidth, the funds, and the capacity to do so. And I would say honestly that maybe not what's changing, but I think what most people would like to know is what would be important as far as a messaging strategy to put out there.
Yeah.
If there's anything that any franchise brand can do, this is what we're advising our clients, and we've seen a lot of success as it relates to attracting not just prospects, but the right type of prospects over the last few months. Anything and everything you can show that shows what you've done to innovate and get creative to support your franchisees, to keep them open, keep them profitable, keep them safe during this crisis that occurred in end of Q1 and obviously for the rest of Q2 is what's really resonating with prospects. Franchise prospects want to know if they choose to buy your business, buy your franchise, what are you going to do to support them, protect them, keep them safe, keep them afloat if something else catastrophic happens. For back to AFC, talking about what they did to quickly finalize and roll out their telehealth solutions to continue providing care to patients amidst this chaos. Moran Brands, another auto client of ours, got a ton of PR success for them that led to some reach of them talking about how they worked with some of their franchise owners to pivot and turn, a lot of their auto repair shops in some instances into quick little bodegas and grocery stores to keep people fed and turning their store on a whim into something completely different to continue driving revenue and supporting communities. So, maybe this didn't answer your question directly and you can maybe present something back to me, but I think that's the number one message I would want to send is that when it comes down to it, at any point in time, it's about the story that you're sharing and the message you're delivering and making sure that's resonating with the current environment and what people are currently worried about. Right now, a prospect is interested. More prospects than ever are out there and are kicking the tires on maybe becoming their own business owner, but they very much need the assurance that if something catastrophic happens again, that they are joining a franchise family that has proven experience supporting their franchisees in the right way during this type of chaos.
Yeah, it's interesting. You brought up kind of what I would consider the validation phase, right? Like at least something that dramatically influences the validation phase of the FranDev process. So it's something that Red Boswell shared as well. I'm sure you know Red. But when you and I were talking about FranDev, he's a great guy. In fact, he was just vacationing in my backyard, and he and I didn't get together.
I know. You guys got a killer beard now. It's impressive.
Oh man, yeah. It's what happens when you come to the Rocky Mountains. Just be forewarned. You grow.
I wish if that happens, I need to come because I have the worst facial hair in the history of the world. It's terrible.
Yeah, but guess what? Nobody loves shaving, so you're in good shape, man.
That's true.
Yeah, but Red was talking about the same thing. That one thing he felt was the most critical was these franchise brands, the leadership teams they needed. A lot of them have and have done a wonderful job stepping into the plate, focusing their attention on how do we help support our franchisees, so make it through this tumultuous time. And what's happened is they've emerged as thought leaders, as innovators. They've added new technologies. We've been crazy busy during as people said what we're doing is not good enough anymore. We need to automate things and really help our Z's grow. And we need insights to know what's happening with our marketing efforts and where can we shift budgets and make things, spend more on less and get more. I mean, that's the end. That's our end game. But
absolutely.
If they're doing that, what happens is you create this culture that is contagious when you get to the validation phase. And so people that are coming down the road, one, pre-validation, right? They'll even, as they're just investigating the brand, what are they seeing when they search for you? They're seeing YouTube videos, they're seeing PR releases, they're seeing stories, they're seeing organic posts from their franchisees about this incredible journey they've been on and how the leadership team at that brand really took them through it. And you're 100% right. Those are the ones that I think are more magnetic and they're a lot easier to sell.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing I would add to that as far as what's coming next, so I do think that's going to carry that message of how you've supported your franchisees and gotten really creative during this time. Sadly enough, there are going to be a ton of open, real estate locations where previous restaurant owners or other businesses existed prior to this crisis, and for some reason or another could not make it, despite what's being done with PPP money and everything else to try to help folks out. So sadly, there are going to be a lot of different businesses that don't make it. So any messaging around sort of real estate and what a lot of these franchisors can do to help next generation owners or new owners either buy somebody out of an existing location, maybe someone's trying to rebrand or add to their existing business portfolio with real estate that's already up and active and existing and just needs to be remodeled to fit a certain brand. So I anticipate heading into Q3 and Q4 as some of these territories become available, especially sort of end cap and drive-through available types of real estate locations that have been unfortunately having to be abandoned by previous owners, sharing what that does to help offset some initial costs and what that does to sort of help people get their businesses open quicker so they start making more money. I think those types of messages are really going to work extremely well, especially in some instances with multi-unit owners who are trying to build their portfolio fast and understand the value of having an end cap or a drive-through location.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting. Boy, this is probably 2 months ago. Christian Thompson, you know Christian over at the Franchise Business Law Group.
Yeah.
So he and I were talking about some of the things that he was seeing and ways that franchisors could help people, help their franchisees through the kind of the rough times when a lot of things were really shut down with COVID. And he brought up almost the same thing about real estate. He said, what franchisors miss sometimes is that right now is the perfect time for them to reach out to the leasing companies that they work with or commercial real estate groups and then start to negotiate really hard, because these guys are one, they don't want vacancies.
That's
and
right.
there's a lot of prime real estate that has great lease rates that are sitting vacant now because people haven't made it. So if a franchisor with all this negotiating power can sit down with them across the table and push really hard, you might negotiate the sweetest lease deals you've ever had in your life, and with the prime real estate for your drive-throughs or for your restaurants or for whatever, your gyms. And it's the perfect time to do it right now.
That's right. And when it comes to a larger investment, especially a restaurant type of brand, the biggest holdups most of the time in getting something to the finish line is tied to real estate and lending. So if you can help these aspiring owners who are qualified figure that stuff out quicker, your opportunity becomes infinitely more valuable and attractive. And I guess the last thing I would say that we're starting to test out right now too is that there are a ton of business owners out there who are really thinking about the future. People who are small business owners in business for themselves that are not tied to a franchise, or they have one or two locations or sort of a smaller regional brand, are really considering the idea of rebranding or converting over to a larger franchise family, because they will be more supported and have more resources should something strike again, or God forbid, COVID really ramp back up again as we head into the respiratory season heading into the fall and winter. So that's something else that's an opportunity for some of these brands.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the groups that we've had good conversations with, that's what they do. They run up, plumbing, electrical, other businesses, and they're seeing a lot of success right now with that type of business owner. I've been in business 10 years. It's been really hard to keep afloat. And I need the operational backend and technology that you guys have kind of locked down to rebrand my business to make it run better. So yeah, that's a good point. Tell me, so let's shift gears for a little bit. A lot of the marketing groups that I've worked with in the past, not you guys, but as they work with their clients and on marketing on PR projects, they sometimes have a hard time bridging the gap between, okay, what are we seeing in the numbers and the reports and the analytics versus what do we take action on now? What are some of the things that you guys do to approach this with your clients? Because you also have to make sure that the clients buy into the data. A lot of times they've got a hunch or a process, or, hey, we've been doing it this way for 15 years. That's a challenge in franchising because some people get real comfortable with what has worked in the past. But how do you bridge that gap between here's what the data says and then the concrete action that we need to take to really move things forward?
Great question. There's a lot of different ways I could take that. And I would say that, with something like 919 Insights in place, and also, so we have another, and I'll give these folks a shout out too, because they've really changed the game for us when it comes to reporting. Everything on the franchise development side of the house, no matter what type of campaign we're running, we use something called DataBox to show the right types of sort of graphs and charts and lead generation and lead nurturing numbers to show our clients, we've been spending money on these programs. It's equated to this amount of leads, this many are qualified, and here's how they're going through the funnel. So I think with that type of reporting program in place for anything we're doing content marketing wise and sort of paid advertising wise, I think we have that solution. And I think it's all as simple as having an effective platform in place that brings everything you're spending money on or spending time on, pairs it up with the data that's in your CRM. And then, we obviously have to put in the man hours and the sweat equity to say, here's all the data we collected, here's where we go next. That's our job to figure out. The thing that I want to answer on your questions, because I think it's something that's been a problem for too long, is how do you equate real value to traditional PR programs?
Yeah.
If you're going for, you get this big TV hit, you get this big online piece, you get this big newspaper hit. There are media impressions and there's media value out there, but how does that equate to anything related to more than just what those numbers are? It's a little bit fuzzy. It's always been a little bit fuzzy, and I can tell you how 919 Insights has made a difference. So anytime we do a PR campaign now, we will isolate 10 specific media outlets that are going to generate the most impact for the campaign we're pursuing. So I'll give you an example. So for Stratus Building Solutions, a client of ours out of California, a commercial cleaning company, no surprise in Q2, we had a lot of work on our hands because we had so many opportunities to showcase them as the experts in, number one, making sure your office is clean and ready to go back to work. And then after the fact, right now, still continuing, what is the number one overall comprehensive game plan to make sure you're going back to work safely? So we came up with, the COVID-19 back to business plan. So that's sort of what the search term is, because if I'm or coronavirus back to business, there are any sort of different slant keyword phrases or longer tail phrases people will be searching for who are business owners that can hire Stratus Building Solutions, putting into their search engines. If I'm going back to business, what do I need to do? So first of all, the first thing you do before those PR campaigns is you get the content arsenal ready so media outlets have a reason to link back to these pieces. We came up with a large back to business brochure, a series of different blog posts that were hitting on different topics related to this to make sure if anyone landed on their website who had seen a TV hit, a newspaper hit, whatever, they were going to find more information on this topic that gave them more incentive to actually work with Stratus Building Solutions. But beyond that, we isolated 10 specific national media outlets to pursue that had a high domain authority, that if we were able to get a story with that network, we knew it was going to give the website some pretty serious juice. And then, of course, on the back end, after we got some of those online media hits, we reach back out to that publication. We say, look, thank you very much for running this story. You did a fantastic job. Just want you to know that Stratus has all these great resources on their website. We recommend you tweaking this paragraph there, including a quick backlink to the coronavirus back to business plan and driving your readers here. So if they are interested, they immediately go directly where they can learn more information. So not only does that PR hit have obviously value on its own, a major national media hit that is reaching tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of different readers. So you have that brand awareness that has obviously big time impact on its own. But it's number one, giving you a backlink that provides pretty serious SEO value for that search term, because all these media outlets have very high domain authority. Dave, if you feel it's worth it, we can go into what domain authority means. And then, beyond that SEO juice it affords, it's driving people directly to the website and helping not to raise just your website, but that specific blog post that ranks for that specific term to rise in the search, rise in organic search that much more quickly.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think hopefully anybody who's listening to this knows what domain authority means. And if not, then you should look Graham up on LinkedIn, connect with him and ask him. But yeah, shameless plug, right? Shameless plug. It's interesting. I didn't tell you this before, but PR was my undergrad. I went to BYU. They were top 5 in the nation. Loved the program. It pulled me out of journalism. Thank heavens, because that's just a sham these days. Good heavens.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but I love the strategy behind it, and what you're describing is perfect. Like really, a lot of folks there, they don't play chess when they do PR or marketing. They don't say, okay, here's move 1 to set up move 2 and move 3 and move 4 and to win. And so I love that you're describing that process, and I think everybody needs to look into that and really evaluate it. And in fact, this is a little off track, but I mean, it makes me wonder, what are some of the things? I mean, there are a lot of folks out there that haven't hired a PR firm. They think, oh, PR, that's been dead for 20 years. Why would I do PR? I mean, give us a little bit of a rundown of how you're seeing PR kind of reemerge as a really valuable asset in your portfolio.
The landscape for PR has changed completely in the decade plus that I've been working in 911 marketing. In a lot of ways, it's kind of sad. So, especially with coronavirus here, I mean, there are thousands, tens of thousands of media members who've been furloughed or out of work because, so many media entities, especially newspapers, have been slashed. Their budgets have been slashed. They simply don't have a ton of bodies, TV stations too, to throw at stories. So in a lot of ways, I mean, PR in its traditional sense has never been more difficult to secure coverage because there's simply not that many people who are working on the earned media side to work with to get coverage. However, that's created an opportunity for brands to approach this in a smart way. So, I mean, you're looking at a bunch of trade magazines that prioritize their website over their print publication anyway. And honestly, I think what's changed the most is that, and back to the conversation we just had, or the answer I just gave, getting an online hit with any type of media outlet and securing a backlink from it, whether it be a contributed article that we helped you write, that you wrote, or a story that publication wrote, or a press release that they took and make it right on their website, that is probably the most valuable kind of coverage you can get because of how people are, finding information on things that they need. They are using their mobile phone and sometimes their desktop or their tablet to, if they have questions, if they have things that they need, they are using Google most of the time or some other search engine to type in a question, and the brands that come up when those questions are asked for are going to win. That's not to discount the value of big time brand awareness. You get major stories in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, on Fox News, Good Morning America, etc. That matters. Okay, I mean that's always going to matter. Because that level of brand awareness is so significant that people are going to type in your branded search term. You're going to get direct traffic on that, and that does matter. But on an ongoing basis, because you're not going to get that every day, you have such an opportunity to work with a PR agency who thinks in this chess versus checkers way, as you mentioned, to not just get a consistent flow of media hits, but to dictate the narrative. I mean, I would say that's a big opportunity brands have now that they didn't have before, because there's less opportunity to get earned media coverage in the traditional sense. Those types of media outlets are more desperate for content than ever. So brands have more of an opportunity to dictate the narrative of what's said about them, not just on their website, but on the things that they're sharing with media outlets that make sense to share stories about their brand. So I don't know if that was too scattered to answer your question, but that's the deal.
No, I love it. No, and it's funny because the landscape has totally changed. Back in the day, PR was learn how to pitch the newspapers, learn how to pitch, trade rags, e-zines were like new, like I guess that dates me a little bit. I graduated just a little before you did, but this whole concept of an online magazine, people were like, who's going to go for that? It's just funny. But the fact that you've got a much thinner crowd managing the media outlets now does change the landscape a bit of the pitch process. Of it's more they're more interested in, rather than a good single story, somebody who's got an actual content map that they can follow and say, oh really, so you're telling me if I work with you, you got me covered for 4 or 5 specific pieces in that little vertical, awesome, because I don't have time.
That's right. Look, it's blurred the lines between real journalism and what's not, and that there are a lot of negative consequences to that, but brands and companies can capitalize. I mean, you can become a contributed author on Forbes or other large business publications, and honestly, it's not an ad. It's not presented as an ad. It comes across as a real article, a real story. And to their credit, to those outlets' credit, if you do become a contributed author in that space, their editorial teams do a good job of helping to make sure it's still educational in nature. But obviously, it gives you a window of opportunity to talk about your franchise opportunity, what makes your culture different, and your own level of expertise. It gives CEOs an opportunity to brand themselves as thought leaders in a way they've never before had access to. So
Yeah.
as many negatives that are out there, if you approach it the right way, brands have more control than ever before on how they present their CEO and how they present their company as experts on what they're great at.
Yeah. That's fantastic. No, I appreciate the insights, and we probably ought to start wrapping things up, even though I hate to, because you got a lot of good truth to drop on us here. Tell me this, Graham, is kind of a wrap up thought from you. If you were running a franchise today and you were trying to, and let's just talk about, you're trying to help your franchisees. What are one or two things that you would start doing today that maybe you hadn't been doing before?
Two things top of mind. I would make sure I'm just going to approach this from a marketing perspective, because
Yes.
there are a ton of different things I would
Yeah.
talk about, operations or support or whatever,
Yeah.
training. But from a marketing perspective, I would do two things. I would make sure that any decision we're making, whether it be a paid, owned, earned, or social/shared program, that there's data driving that decision, that
Mm-hmm.
I have real information that is making sure I'm not just guessing and throwing something at the wall. That tells me if I spend money or spend time on these specific initiatives,
Mm-hmm.
I have real reason to believe it's reaching the right personas and having the right type of impact. So I would make sure I had my data and reporting in place to the degree that every month, every quarter, I have real information guiding what I continue to do or what I pivot and do differently. And I would also say that I think a mistake that franchisors all too often make is that they try to create sort of one size fits all, parent-childish solutions from a social media and PR perspective. There is value, and I'll focus on the social media side first. There is value in making sure you're consistently providing something on every single one of your franchisee locations pages. If they are active, they should be filled with something. And if there is just a fact that a lot of franchisees don't have the time or the appetite to be great marketers in their own right. So I do understand why there's a need for one specific type of post to go across all different profiles. But I can assure you that if all your franchisees are doing are just sharing that one post a week that is sort of blanket corporate, sort of more national in scope and more generic in scope, it's not going to reach and influence that local audience the way that it needs to. So whoever partner is helping you with that side, or whoever internal resources helping you on that side, needs to help franchisees make everything that is posted to their social media accounts more localized. And then on the PR side, again, there is value to the national and sort of franchise trade type of coverage that has a purpose, that has a place, that has value. But when it comes to really helping your franchisees, you have to turn them into local thought leaders in their backyard. So whatever PR programs I'm rolling out, I'm thinking about quarterly campaigns or other seasonal things that apply to our business, but I know there's a way that I can tweak it and reorient it. So I'm positioning that franchisee in Atlanta or that franchisee in Seattle as the local thought leader on commercial cleaning, because they work with these specific types of clients and handle these types of specific solutions that are specific to that market itself. So it's great to have ideas on the national, more generic level, but when you start trying to position your franchisees in specific markets, whether it be online or via social media or through PR initiatives, it has to be more localized. Local is what sells, period.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to sniff out a corporate message in in the market in Texas if it's written in New York.
Yep.
Yeah, I see that all the time. Even in what we do to help people automate the lead engagement process, it can sound really contrived and then everyone ignores it. So I love it.
Same thing for FranDev. I mean, when it comes to the lead nurturing process, back to your point, it can't be a one-size-fits-all thing there. I mean, you need to identify the types of people who've been successful with your model before, come up with 3 or 4 specific types of people, candidates you're going after, and making sure you label those folks effectively as soon as you can. So their nurturing process to the finish line, they're having something happen for them that's much more specific to their wants, their needs, their desires, their background. So they're more inclined to continue to engage with you.
Yep. No, I hear you. I hear you. Well, I think that's a great place to pause for the day. And thanks, Graham, for sharing so many insights. A couple of things that I've taken away. Hopefully my pen scratchings didn't pick up on my mic, so I was taking a lot of good notes here. But the one thing that I'm taking away from from your last thought there is that, inside of a franchise network, one thing that I see quite a bit is that the Zors, they really do, and they're so smart. They've got so many talented people helping them run their business, but they also forget that they've got a network, or they undervalue the network of smart entrepreneurs who've been successful in other businesses, who have bought into their business model. It can give them ground up feedback to help them really localize the message. And the groups that I've seen pivot and start to do things like that lately have started to win more,
Yep.
because not only FranDev, but the local Z marketing starts to feel and sound more authentic. And so they're engaging and resonating better with their local leads coming through, versus just corporate trying to top down push everything out. They're actually opening up for some backwash, listening to the feedback from the market, and then pivoting a little bit and being a lot more dynamic. And that's helping a lot of people win right now.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. Graham, thanks again for joining us. 919 Marketing, you guys do a great job, and we appreciate the partnership with you. Thanks for all the
And
content.
I appreciate it too. And for all the franchisors out there, if you're looking for world domination like Dr. Evil, you got to call me and Dave. Let's do it.
Sounds great. Thanks.